WWE wasn't the only company making news this week. Brian Kendrick was scheduled to wrestle Jon Moxley in his AEW debut on Wednesday night until past comments that he made about things like the Sandy Hook school massacre and the Holocaust came back to haunt him. And after somebody posted on Twitter clips of things that he had said that I had never even heard before, really whacked out stuff, the timing of which seemed designed to make AEW look bad for bringing him in because he spent years working for WWE and nobody ever made an issue out of it. But it worked. It worked. And Tony Khan pulled him from the show about an hour before they were scheduled to go live on the air. Kendrick asked for his WWE release a few months ago, and it was granted, as Mustafa Ali weeps off in the distance. The last we saw Kendrick on television, Harland was throwing him down a flight of stairs on NXT. I don't think he threw him hard enough. Kendrick was in a neck brace the next week, challenging Harland to a fight, which ended up not happening. But he came back to WWE about 7 or 8 years ago, when they brought him in as a trainer, and then he ended up working the Cruiserweight Classic, and he was wrestling on 205 Live. That was his third stint with the company. Evidently, WWE was aware of his conspiracy comments. He said as much in an interview that he did with Lillian Garcia back in 2017, where he said that he was yellow carded when they did a background check on him. They flagged him, which he said meant that they had to take caution before bringing him back due to past comments that he had made about the company, because I'm sure he was very upset the last time he got released. But also some of the conspiracy stuff that was out there. They were aware of it, and they told him, look, you can't be doing that anymore. And he said he understood, and that was the end of it. Until this week. Tony Khan tweeted before the show, "We have been made aware of abhorrent and offensive comments made in the past by Brian Kendrick. There is no room in AEW for the views expressed by Brian. We think it is best for all that Brian be pulled from tonight's card as we gather more information. We will announce a replacement bout ASAP." Which ended up being Jon Moxley against Wheeler Yuta, by the way. Kendrick is big into conspiracy theories. I think some people already knew this. Not everybody was aware of it. I was aware that he had some kooky views in the past on conspiracy stuff, but nothing like what came out this week. But he is big into conspiracy theories. And I'm not just talking about alien probes and who really killed JFK and stuff like that. We're talking false flag type stuff about Sandy Hook denial, Holocaust denial, Jewish first responders arriving in Haiti after the earthquake who were reptilian and who were there to scoop up eyeballs. Really disturbing stuff that no reasonably intelligent person would ever be spouting off about. There are certain lines you do not cross. Holocaust and Sandy Hook denial are two of those lines. You have to be a real sick puppy to believe in that shit. That or very gullible. Probably a little bit of both. Someone online responded to the Holocaust stuff, which I'm not going to repeat. You can look it up yourself if you want. But somebody replied on Twitter asking if this is why he and Paul London don't seem to be very close anymore. And it's very interesting that the first person to like that post was Paul London. So that might give us our answer right there. It is interesting how he spent the last 8 years with WWE and none of this was ever raised on social media. And only on the day that he is set to debut with AEW does it become a lead story. These comments were about a decade old. I myself were unaware of how far down the rabbit hole this guy went with the conspiracy stuff. It's really pathetic. Which is not to say that some things in life don't deserve to be questioned. But when you literally question everything, including some things for which there is no room for questioning, you lose all credibility and nobody takes you seriously. You become the tinfoil hat guy. And that's what Brian Kendrick became, the tinfoil hat guy. Yes, it is very convenient that all of this happened to come up on Wednesday. But the fact is, it did come up. I go back to the Hogan stuff. When Hogan was exposed on tape and using the N-word and throwing it around, yes, he had his privacy violated. That's why he sued. Absolutely, he had his privacy violated. But the genie was out of the bottle. You can't pretend that you didn't hear what he said. A lot of people will never look at Hulk Hogan in the same light again. And you can understand why. It doesn't matter if his privacy was violated. They still heard it, and it painted him in a horrible, horrible light. So yes, it is convenient that all of this came up on Wednesday, but it did come up. And there is no excuse for it, and even Kendrick seems to feel the same way, or at least that's what he now claims. He did damage control later on that night on Twitter. He said, "I apologize for all the hurt and embarrassment I have caused with my words. These are not my beliefs and never were beliefs of mine, and I crossed the line. I spread the most vile comments without thinking of the damage it would cause. I will live with this regret for the rest of my life. I am truly sorry for the pain I have caused." Look, I mean, I look at this. It didn't cause me any pain. I just look at him in a different way now. I look at him, it's sad. It's embarrassing. More than anything. I hope he's sincere, because I would be ashamed beyond belief to be associated with views like that. Tony Khan made the right move by pulling him. He didn't fire him. If you read the tweet, people going off on Tony Khan, "Oh, how could you fire this guy?" And going after him for firing him. Where in that tweet did Tony Khan say he fired Brian Kendrick? We don't even know if Kendrick had a contract signed. We never did get that All Elite graphic, right? Brian Kendrick is All Elite. I don't even think the guy was working with a contract. You can't fire somebody if they're not under contract. He merely pulled him from the show to give themselves more time to look into things, and because it would have, I think, turned very ugly for him in front of that crowd in Chicago. That was not the night for this man to be debuting on live television. And as I said in my Dynamite review, Brian Kendrick is free to believe whatever the hell he wishes, just as Tony Khan is free to employ who he wants. And I would not want to be associated with someone with those views either. I hope he's sincere, but I am sure that he also realizes that if he ever wants work in a major promotion ever again, those tweets were necessary, or that tweet was necessary to try to show people that he is not completely batshit insane.